Welcome back to BCSN Game Time Show live here at SWAC Football Media Day. Bryan, Fulford, it's a pleasure to be joined by my coach, my head coach Willie Simmons, head coach Florida A&M University. Coach, how you doing this morning?
Doing amazing. Great to be here at SWAC Media Day, start of football season.
You're a veteran of these. You've now the second time as the head Rattler. What are some of the, I've had people ask me and say, what is Coach like at these media days? Is he excited? Is he calm, reserved? And I'm going to let you tell it, but what is media day like for you in this environment? And as you've seen it grow from your time as a previous head coach at Prairie View to coming to FAM, this has gotten larger.
Oh, no question. Media day is always an exciting time because, again, it's the official kickoff of the new season. You get a chance to rub elbows with your peers, the other head coaches in the league, get a chance to see some of the marquee players in the conference, and again, just gives us a chance to really sell our programs and get everyone excited about football. So I'm always anxious to come to the media day and excited to get it started, but the SWAC does a great job of putting this event on.
Now we get a chance to talk about you and the program on the O&G Strike Zone a lot, but for people watching us now, let people know, what has the spring and summer been like for the program?
Well, our guys have worked extremely hard. They've really bought into our program philosophy. The culture's strong. I really enjoy being around them every day. Just seeing the work they put in, seeing their bodies transform, what they do in the classroom, out in the community. It's a great group to be around. So again, the spring was great. They had 15 great spring practices, and summer conditioning has been amazing. So we're geared up for what we expect to be an amazing season, led by, the nation's best defensive player in Isaiah Land, and, Xavier Smith, one of the premier wide receivers in the country at any level, and then a plethora of guys that we've been able to bring into the fold. So, excited about this season. We're looking forward to getting started in a week.
Now, obviously, both of those, Isaiah and Xavier, are here, and we'll talk to them in just a moment with AD. One of the things that I know Xavier shared with us last night, and I think even Kendall and BJ, when we had them on our show, is the player accountability right now is really high. What does that speak to? What does that say when you're able to see guys talk about they're holding each other accountable, they're really managing things, and they're taking great instruction from you and the staff, but you guys it's them right now. They're the ones handling things in the off season.
Well, I think any great football team has great leadership from within. That's something that we talk to our guys about a lot. We're raising future leaders of tomorrow, out in the real world. And so what better way to start that than by, leading your peers within the locker room. And so, again, I attribute that to guys like Xavier Smith, Isaiah Land, Chris Fadul, Bryan Crawford, guys that have been in this program for 4 and 5 years that have really, really bought into what our program philosophy is. When we speak about 7 Fs, they know what that means, and then any newcomer that comes into the program, be it a high school signee or transfer, those guys immediately walk into a locker room of accountable teammates. They want to make sure that we're doing the right things every single day, because we know that those little things are really the difference between winning and losing.
This season, there are plenty of guys on this roster who have been a part of the last 2 seasons, 9-win seasons, and it almost – I'm not taking credit for this. I think this is somebody else that takes credit for this, but it almost feels like a last dance kind of thing with this group of redshirt seniors and seniors who have been here 5-6 years in the program. I don't know if do you feel a sense of that, or what do the players? It seems like the players feel that because their level of work has gone up a notch. But what do you, when you look at this group, do you get a sense of that? I feel like Rattler Nation feels that, but what do you feel, or is this, are we focused? Should we just focus on another season?
Well, again, you got a guy like Xavier Smith who made at the time, a huge, excuse me, a huge decision to return for his 6th year, and Xavier has already graduated. Xavier's done enough to show NFL scouts and personnel that he's a player at that level, but he felt he had unfinished business. That last game in Hammond, Louisiana, left a sour taste in all of our mouths, and so we wanted to come back, with a vengeance. We wanted to come back with something to prove. When you look at last season, 1 point away, from having a chance to be SWAC champions and Celebration Bowl, champions. And so these guys understand it. They know that the expectation level at Florida A&M is through the roof, and we want to be number one. So again, these guys have made a commitment to come back and make this year the year that we all envision it being, and that means the level of commitment has been an all-time high. The accountability, as you spoke of, has been an all-time high, and that's what I've seen from this group.
Just earlier this week, FAMU, courtesy of the 220 Club in Tallahassee, brought in a new cooling container, if I'm saying it correctly. Talk a little bit about and I think we are the first HBCU to have that, and there are schools at the Power 5 level that are using that. Talk a little bit about that advantage and how that will help during this upcoming camp, which starts, I believe, the 29th, right?
Right. Yeah, so of course, anyone who's been to Tallahassee, or if you've been, if had your eyes open, it's extremely hot, right? And so, I mean, the temperatures get upwards to, high 90s. The heat index is even in the hundreds. The humidity level is extremely high, and so again, player safety is always our number one concern, more so than winning, even more so than graduating, because a coach's worst fear is to have a player have to be taken to the hospital because of some heat-related illness. And so when we talked to Eddie Jackson, the president of the 220 Quarterback Club, about our concerns with this heat that we're facing, he did some research. He found Mr. Boudreaux and his cooling system. It's a system that many Power 5 programs use, as you alluded to. And he went on a mission to raise the money to get it done. In a short time, we were able to secure the funds, and they delivered the trailer, earlier this week. And we're excited about it. It's going to give our guys a chance to immediately cool their core body temperatures down and be able to get, not necessarily get through practice, but it's going to cut down on the full body cramps, going to cut down on the ice baths right after practice where you got to submerge a guy immediately to get his core temperature down. We're able to do that throughout practice, and I think it's going to go a long way in preserving our guys' bodies and giving them the best chance to be the most optimal self throughout this season.
Congratulations again to the program. Thank you again. Congratulations to the 220 Club. Great job there. Before I turn it over to Drew with Isaiah and Xavier, everyone here at SWAC is going to be focused on the first conference game of the year, but that's not our first game of the season. Our first game of the season, week 0, at North Carolina, traveling to Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Talk a little bit about that opponent, an ACC opponent, and how that sets the table for what comes after.
Well, we're excited about being able to open the season on national television against the University of North Carolina. This is kind of dubbed the GOAT game, so to speak. You got North Carolina, the flagship Jordan school, going up against FAMU, the flagship LeBron James school. So it's that old who's the GOAT. So we're going to try to sell it on the football field for a basketball discussion. But, again, we're very excited about it. Every year we play a guarantee game against a group of 5, a Power 5 opponent. And this year, we get North Carolina. So, again, it gives guys like Isaiah Land and Xavier Smith a chance to, go up against what's perceived to be the highest level of collegiate football, which is Power 5. So I know that this is a game that they're very excited about, but it's also a game that we're excited about as a program, and our fans can be, excited about. So kind of gives us a quote-unquote preseason type game before we start conference play the next week against Jackson State. But again, we're looking forward to going to Chapel Hill, and FAMU's no stranger to making, to going in and beating Power 5 schools. We've done that in our history, and we're going to go and try to make sure we can make lightning strike twice.
Amen. All right, Coach, I appreciate your time. Thanks for all of your accessibility, not only with the O&G, but with the Black College Sports Network. I'm going to turn it over now to AD, who's going to be with Xavier Smith and Isaiah Land. Floor is yours. Go ahead, Drew.
AD Drew here with Isaiah Land and Xavier Smith. And while they were over there talking about that new hot box that you guys got, excuse me, cold box that you guys got on campus, we was kind of sitting over here talking about that Tallahassee heat. And I was telling them about my freshman year walking them hills in Tallahassee, how I wore out a pair of hard bottom shoes, pair of Stacy Adams. Not like these were some cheap hard bottom shoes, wore a hole in them. With the heel out and the toe out in those things. So, but welcome to the show, gentlemen. Talk about training in that heat in Tallahassee. We know it gets well over 100 degrees during this time of the year. You guys in camp. So talk about that advantage that may give you guys when you go into some of those early season matchups, especially when you're playing teams that are not used to that type of climate that we're used to in Tallahassee.
It prepares you for a game of 4 quarters. You know, a game is always won, and all 4 quarters is not won at the beginning.
Somebody let her fly to the doggone press conference. Everybody trying to get into this press conference.
But yeah, like I was saying, it prepares you for a game of 4 quarters, and you can see it pay off. You can see the hard work that we put in that sun. You can see it pay off every game when we run in tempo, when we run in fast pace. You see teams, they passing out, they throwing up on the field, and we still going, we still rolling, we still on go, we still on go, and that's just a testament to the hard work Coach Simmons them prepares for in that sun. So, like I said, it's a 4 quarter game, and it just makes the game easy when those guys tired, and we still got another level we could reach.
You go ahead, Zay.
Well, not being from Florida, like coming from Georgia, we like during football season, we got kind of mild weather. So when I first came to Tallahassee in the summer, it was like I can't even see, I can't breathe right now. I can't imagine putting a helmet
You
on.
could see the heat coming off the ground.
Yeah,
It was so hot.
I used to be like, how am I gonna put a helmet and shoulder pads on in this heat? So, but I noticed like we used to play like I remember North Carolina Central came down for our homecoming, and he talking to the ref. It's the first quarter. He like, it's hot out here. He got his legs crossed. He got his hands on his hips, and I feel normal because we practice at 3:30 every day. So we in the smack heat. Coach we don't want no shade. It's right in the middle of the sky. So we last longer than anybody in that heat. I kind of like when we play in the heat because I know we got the advantage. And when mild weather is probably an even playing field, but if we in the heat, we got the advantage every time. We feel like a normal practice.
Now, you two guys, along with a lot of other people in the SWAC that are here on Media Day, have NFL aspirations, and not just a dream, but your goal is well within reach for both of you guys. Some of you guys stay healthy and have another breakout season like you've had for the last 2 to 3 years. But fellas, I gotta ask you, and I need y'all to be honest with me. How do y'all top what y'all did last year? I mean, Xavier, you led the team. You led the team in catches. You also played on special teams. Did a few things, kickoff return and punt return, and then Mr. Sackmaster over here. I mean, 19 sacks, or was it 19 and a half? All right, 19. I couldn't remember whether you got credit for a half a sack or not. I mean, number one, how do you go in and repeat those type numbers? And let's be real, everybody got film on you. Everybody knows your name, not only in this conference but throughout FCS. So you're gonna see double, triple teams. You're gonna see one safety over the top, linebacker underneath. You're gonna see all different type of things. How do you go through and prepare your thing? You got to change your game to stay ahead of the game without changing who you are.
For me, it's easy because I'm gonna keep working and I'm gonna just work hard, and I know God will make a way regardless of the situation, regardless of what defenses try to do, and I'm gonna just continue to work. And I got great coaches behind me, Coach Simmons, Coach Henry, Coach JB. Those guys, I know they'll come up with schemes. I know they'll come up with ways to get me the ball. And not only get me the ball, but when other guys continue to make plays, they can't just focus on me. They got to focus on everybody, and that'll open up doors for everybody to make plays. So for me, like I just said, it's easy. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep grinding. If I could open up ways to get other people the ball, then I do that. And then when they start succeeding, that'll just open up doors for me to be able to make plays as well.
Well, for me, like going into last season, I told the team like the day before Jackson State game, I said, this season I'm not focused on stats because coming out of 2019 season, I had 2 sacks. And every play I got on the field, I'm trying to make a play. And like that's what made me play worse. Like I'm trying to make a play every play instead of doing my job. So 2021, I just went into the game literally just doing my 111. Coach always talk about that on defense. We do our 111, and
Explain
eventually,
that to everybody. What a 111 is.
so if I got the edge, and my brother got the B gap, if I'm setting the edge and I see the running back bouncing the B gap, I'm not going in the B gap because I know he gonna be there. I trust that he gonna be there. And if the running back bounce out into the C gap, I'm gonna be there. But if I'm worried about my brother not doing his job, I'm gonna go in the B gap, and now we both in the B gap. Now the running back bounces to the C gap and he run for 30 yards. So it's just all about doing your job. So this season, like I remember last season, all offseason, I had a chip on my shoulder working out. Like my hardest part of this offseason after the 2021 season was just getting myself going because I naturally always had a chip on my shoulder. But like now, after the 2021, everybody was believing in me. Before, nobody believed in me. So it was easy to work hard. It was easy to go in there and go with my hardest because I had a chip on my shoulder. But then once I proved myself, it's like I still got to keep going, you know. So I just try to find new ways to motivate myself. And like for me, I feel like just having a consistent game. It's not really about trying to beat 19 sacks. I just want to show that I can play good football all season. I want to be able to play just as good in UNC as I play against Jackson State or Alabama State or Bethune-Cookman. So I just want to show consistency this year. I know they're gonna try to double team me, so I'm not gonna really chase stats. That's like an empty dream right there. So I just want to get pressure to the quarterback and just help my brother stop the run, and then that's all I'm focused on this season.
All right, now we know both you guys had opportunities to probably play professional, had opportunities to into the portal and go elsewhere, and all other kind of people in your ear tell you, Isaiah, you need to do this, Zay, you need to do this, and everything like that. But you guys uh, made a decision to come back and do this one last dance. And now Coach Simmons said you guys felt like you had some unfinished business. And that's all fine. And as a Rattler, I appreciate you guys deciding to come back and finish your business. But I want to go deeper inside the decision. What were some of the things that really, when you sat down with your family and made the decision, okay, I need to stay in Tallahassee for one additional year? What were some of the things that went inside that decision making process for you?
I would say before I ever came to FAMU, I always set certain goals, and one goal I set was to leave here with a national championship, and I haven't completed that goal yet. So before I leave here, I want to leave here with that national championship, and it's like I have. I look at all of those guys on that team as my little brothers, and before I leave, I wanted to set a standard. I wanted to set something that everybody could follow. So when I come back to FAMU 10 years from now, I could look back and say, man, they still got it going. They still doing the same things that I set or that we set while we was here. So that was really the main thing that I really just said. I wanted a foundation, and we building that right now, and hopefully 10 years from now, we could all come back and say, yeah, man, those guys did that. Those guys laid that foundation down, and I'm gonna look back and say those my little brothers, and they still keeping it going.
Well, for me, it was the only reason I really considered the transfer portal because like I felt like at the next level they don't really respect our level of football, and like people were still trying to say like, well, I go look online and I look up the top 50 players in the country that play defense, and I'm not even there because I don't play FBS football, and I just felt like I had more to prove. But then I sat down to talk with my family, and it's like my whole life I've been trying to prove something to somebody when I really just need to prove it to myself, So I really I didn't want to jeopardize leaving and going and playing with some new kids who I don't know, and to us, like our whole time being at FAMU, we feel like they spoiled. So like I didn't want to go up there. I want to stick with my brothers my last year. When I go to the NFL and I walk across that stage, it's gonna feel good because I ain't got $100,000, like them boys in big schools. So I just wanted to finish my last year with my brothers. I remember one of my teammates was like, "You really want to play your last game with some dudes you don't even know?" Like my last game of college football, I want to be able to hug my brothers and be like, "We did it," So I just didn't want to. A wise man told me if you could be bought, you could be sold. So only thing I'm missing up there is some money. I'm gonna have some money in my life. So I'm gonna just play good football. I love the game of football. I love playing with my brother. So that's bigger to me than playing at Georgia and stuff like that. Cause we all gonna end up in the same place when we get that NFL jersey on.
There you go. There you go. All right, last question I got for you guys. You did not win the conference last year. Obviously, we know first game is probably one of the, if we don't win the first game, you still do it, but it's gonna be a tough hill tough uphill because you got to wait on everybody else in order to do something. No one helped you out last year, but you did have the caveat of making it to the playoffs, but as a team, we did not do well in the playoffs. So, given the ups and downs of last year, what are your expectations? What are your goals? And what's going to make FAMU has a successful season if this year? What happens this year?
Being more disciplined. Just honing in on just being more disciplined. Like last year, if you look at the SWAC, who led the SWAC in penalties, it was FAMU. So that cost you games. That 1 point that cost us a game. Discipline, jumping outsides, false starts. When you supposed to set the edge, you don't do it. Block field goal. Things like that. That'll cost you losses. So even in the Southeastern Louisiana game, it was just discipline. Guys getting out of gaps. I was dropping balls. It was just little small things like that. And, we clean that up this year. We'll handle what we got to handle.
Yeah, I feel like it's discipline and accountability. Like this year, this whole offseason, we already knew we had talent. We knew we had talent since 2019 when we won 9 games, and we won 9 games again. So the only thing that's going to change this year is literally leadership and discipline. We have the same amount of talent, if not more, and we got even more experience as the years go on. I feel like as long as we don't beat ourselves, we could win every game. I feel like every game we lost, we beat ourselves in some way. That when they scored Jackson State, I jumped offsides in fourth and 3, 4th and 2. That would have never happened. And we got a targeting call that same drive. So, I feel like it's just a discipline thing and, a conscious effort to make sure everybody's, on point, paying attention to the small things. Because we got all the big things. We got talent. We got speed. We got strength. We got size now. It's about the little things like discipline, paying attention to the small details of football is what's going to put us over the edge.
Any last words to Rattler Nation?
FAMU, I love thee.
Yes, sir. We coming for the SWAC this year, Celebration Bowl, all that.
And I'm gonna borrow this from the O&G Strike Zone. Rattlers will strike, and strike again.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that, as we strike again, we are going to take a break. What do we have coming up next, producer? Okay, we just gonna take a break and just stay tuned because I have no idea what's coming up next, but we got something coming up next for my fellow Rattlers. Appreciate you, brother. All right, we'll be back right here on the Black College Sports Network and HBCU League Pass Plus.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with a special edition of BCSN here at 2022 SWAC Football Media Day, and I have none other than Coach Willie Simmons, one of my favorite interviews just because of the candor and the relationship that we had at your previous institution of Prairie View. I still have a checkbook for you there.
We'll take it. We spend green money at FAMU too.
There you go. I know you would. I know you would. But seriously, your football team has been right at the edge. What do you believe is going to be the difference this year?
Well, I think the difference is the commitment to the little things. We talk about it all the time as a football team. Talented teams are elite when they pay attention to detail, when they're a close-knit group, when the leadership comes from within, and they truly hold themselves accountable. And that's really what the emphasis has been for these guys this summer. I've seen a different attitude from our guys like Xavier Smith, who have never really been vocal guys, who are taking the initiative now to be more vocal. I think that's going to be the difference. So the accountability within, the attention to detail, the little things will be the difference that gets us from being a really good team to being an elite football program.
Yes, you had a playoff. You got a player that had a free agent signing that's doing really well. So every symbol is talking about this program taking an upward trajectory. I want to know a little bit more about the offensive side of the ball. You're a quarterback. previously a quarterback. I guess you still have a little bit in that arm.
No, I don't.
No, you try. I know you can't give away too much, but talk a little bit about the quarterback room. How has camp been for the quarterback?
Well, last year was probably the first time in my coaching career, particularly as a play caller, where I really had to evaluate how aggressive we would be offensively.
Okay.
I knew we had a very strong defense. I knew we had a very solid special teams unit, but I wasn't confident that we had the type of offensive unit that could go in and say we're going to get the 80-plus, 90 plays a game, be very, very aggressive, because we weren't very stable at the quarterback position, so to speak. So Rashawn did a really good job of managing the game last season, but he's a year older. He now has those 12 games under his belt. Last year he had no college experience other than one start, and so now you can put a little bit more on him. He's taken a lot more initiative to really digest the playbook. Typically, it takes about a year or two to really, know exactly what I want to do offensively.
Especially in your playbook.
From a quarterback perspective, understanding how I think and why I call certain things, and he's to that point now. And so now I think you'll see a different Rashawn. But again, Jeremy Musa's breathing right down his back. A guy that transferred in from Vanderbilt University as a graduate transfer, tremendous arm talent, very, very cerebral young man. He can speak to you in coach's terms. So when you start talking about protections and talking about defensive rotations and all the little intricacies of the position, he has all those. And so it's going to be a fierce competition. I'm really looking forward to seeing those guys perform at that level, and I'm blessed now to be coaching that position as the head coach. And but I feel really good about the direction the quarterback group is headed in, and obviously we'll go as they go. And so with those two guys and the other guys in the room, I feel like we'll go back to having those prolific offenses that Rattler Nation has come to expect from us.
Offensive line, you were able to run the ball a lot more, but tell me a little bit about just overall offense of some of the playmakers. Have you added any additional playmakers on that side of the ball?
Well, fortunately for us, we didn't lose many. Aside from Bishop Bonnet, our first team all-conference running back, we returned all of our key members from last season. We talked about Rashawn, but when you mentioned Xavier Smith, who 2 years in a row has led the team in receiving, has been one of the more productive receivers in FCS football over the last couple of years. Jamari Shareed, who transferred to us last season from Texas State, who ended up being an All-American punt returner, led the nation in punt return yardage. Kamar Young, our tight end, Terrell Jennings and Jalen McLeod, two big physical, powerful running backs. So when you return that type of star power offensively, it equates to hopefully a very dynamic offensive group. And then we've added some additions, guys like Trey Davis, who was, a Division II first-team all-conference receiver, Kobe Gross, who was the #1 rated junior college tight end when he signed with Florida State, who's now transferred to us, and even a couple other guys that are coming into the fold. We got a few tricks up our sleeves. So we're not going to let Jackson State and Dion have all the fun in the recruiting trails, but we do have some very, very dynamic young men that we feel will give us a chance again to match our defensive prowess and our special teams dominance. Where we feel like we arguably have the best kicker, punter, return combination in the country.
Good point. The talk of the town, the talk of the conference, SWAC, HBCU, and FCS was the defense last year. Didn't lose much on the defensive side of the ball. Tell me a little bit about that defense. Is it still getting you excited?
Well, we lost a key component, Marquise Bell.
Well,
when you lose a player of that caliber,
you're right.
he's not hard. He's not easy to replace, right? And so, he and Antoine Collier did a great job last year of being our last line of defense as our two safeties. You're talking about two guys that are over 6'2", right around 200 pounds, that both love contact, and were ball hawks. And so losing those two guys were really, impactful. Yes. And then Savion Williams on the defensive line. So again, when you lose, those three guys were huge losses, but we feel like we've replaced them with guys that can be hopefully equally as productive or close to it. But you got Isaiah Land coming back for another year. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger, which is scary, but he is.
See what I did with my
You got General Hunt, who was one of the best interior defensive linemen last season as a freshman,
and
coming back
for his name Hunt.
Yeah, he ain't nothing gentle about him. And so, but again, he's returning. And then the additions that we've added in the secondary at the linebacker position will be much more explosive at linebacker than we have been in the past. Secondary will be, I think, more athletic, maybe not as physical with two big physical presences leaving, but we're way more athletic. And then up front, we feel like we'll have a greater level of productivity, being that our two marquee guys, General Hunt and Isaiah Land, are, again, a year older, and they've been in the weight room really, really hard over the last 365 days.
Special teams.
Again, I'm biased, but if you find a better kicker, punter, return combination in the country, I like to see it. Chris Fadul is a returning All-American punter. Led the nation in punting in 2018, finished second by tenths of yards in 2019. Obviously tore his ACL last year, so didn't finish the season, but he'll be back for his senior year. Jose Romo Martinez is an all-conference punter. He's a projected first-team all-conference performer, All-American candidate. And then Jamaria Sharif led the nation in punt return yards last year at over 19 yards per return. And so, again, we have one of the most dynamic trios in the country as far as special teams goes. And with our size, our speed, our athleticism at those key positions, linebacker, defensive end, tight end, running back, even wide receiver and defensive back, we feel like we'll be able to field players on those four key units that really should give us a huge advantage in the special teams area.
Well, you got your friend out there, Charles Bishop, eavesdropping.
I see him taking notes over there. He act like he's not paying attention, but I see him putting everything that we're saying in his cell phone right now.
No, we just said you over there eavesdropping. Everything we saying, you taking notes on your phone, trying to act like you don't
all
know
inconspicuous, like you don't know.
Like you don't know
man.
what y'all talking to me?
Say my first rodeo, Charles. Say my first rodeo.
And I bring that up because Orange Blossom Classic, big game. We can't hide from it. But you've experienced this for now the 6th year in a row where you open up the season against what, in this case, we'll say rival. Obviously, with Prairie View and Texas Southern, true in-state rival. In this case, at least rival in terms of who finished first in the conference.
Right.
And many people see you all finishing in the top. And a lot of it has to do with that game. How have you managed that process based on what happened last year, and more importantly, what you've done in the past of understanding preparation for the first game of the year which is a big game?
Yeah, I think the key in that, and I'm blessed to have gone through this multiple times, as you alluded to. When you open the season out of conference, and primarily you play 2 or 3 games before you start conference play, you don't have maybe as much of an emphasis to get everything installed, to make sure that you've really given the guys everything they need as far as the whole playbook, because you got 3 games to kind of get used to playing.
And I understand this year you do
right.
open against North Carolina, and I know that's the game
0,
on.
right? But so
you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the difference is when you open the season in conference play, we got to be ready to play.
Okay.
I mean, there's no question that the preparation, the summer preparation, the film study with us as coaches, it's that much more critical, right, to make sure that we know everything we can about our opponent, in this case Jackson State. Just like when I was at Prairie View, knowing everything we could about Texas Southern. You have to know their personnel. You have to know their coaching philosophy. You have to know the new additions to the rosters. And so all those key intricate things that a lot of times you don't really figure out until game day, we got to work that much harder to know them earlier, because the game has so much at stake. Last year we said it. Coach Prime and I said it on the field. Whoever wins this game is more than likely going to win the SWAC. And that's exactly what happened. Yep. And so I'm not saying that this year to go out and give people bulletin board material, but based on the preseason rankings,
that's what a lot of people
we're 1 and 2. Yeah. And so we know the magnitude of this game and the ramifications of the implications of it are huge. And so we got to make sure we're ready to go.
So you sound like you'll be ready, and the team will be ready as well. I know it's been a long day. You got a little road ahead of you, so I want to thank you for making sure that you gave some time to get an interview in. So I really appreciate that in a lot of ways.
Well, of course, I know it's a steak riding on it, so I know if I didn't come and talk to you, that next time I come to Houston, you wouldn't give him a good steak. So now that I've done my interview, I can, and I'm going straight T-bone. We're going to the nicest steak restaurant in Houston, and we're going to blow it out.
Second nicest.
Second nicest.
I ain't ready for that. First nicest. We'll go to second nicest.
We appreciate you, brothers, always.
I appreciate it. It's always fun, and always you keep up the great work, and tell the family, the wife.
Charles, your battery died yet? Your phone dead? You still got
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab special presentation from BCSN here at the 2022 SWAC Football Media Day. That will be a wrap for us. Stick with us because we'll have some special things for you as we close. Might have a little more tease as we're getting ready for a couple of things, but basically that's it. We'll tune it off and we'll be right back after this moment. Stick with us.
My man.
Thank you.